Welcome to Victory Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Blue in the Bronx podcast. AGP back again. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button, comment, and subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or drops. Once again, I remind you guys, like always, only about 35% of you guys are subscribed on YouTube, so please help out the channel, help out the algorithm. Please subscribe, and more content along the way, more engagement, stuff like that, more perks. Giants 27, Saints 21. I mean, I was one of those people this week, or I should say last week, that was saying, what are you guys talking about? We're beating the Saints. What are you guys talking about? We just lost to the Falcons, I said it about 300 times. We're not beating the Saints. I don't know where everybody's getting this whole thing. Oh, we're beating the Saints. Our first upsets, against the Saints. I got to credit them. They had more hope and faith in this Giants team than I did. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff the Giants have to clean up, mostly on the defensive side of the ball. Offense, there's some ticky-tacky stuff here and there, but man, this offense saved Joe Judge. And I honestly thought at points in the game that Jason Garrett was a better coordinator than Judge was as a head coach. At points in the game. Obviously, that can be skewed in like 7 different fashions, but I thought Garrett, without using Daniel Jones's running ability, he portrayed Daniel Jones as a franchise quarterback, and Daniel Jones portrayed himself as a franchise quarterback. And I've been ripping Jason Garrett and some of these other weapons and all this other stuff the last couple of weeks because, obviously we were 0-3. But the offense had a good game. Daniel Jones, I'm going to say it right now, and this isn't discrediting guys like Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, Kenny Galladay, and these other guys, but he lifted the Giants to a victory. I'm going to say it right now. He is the top reason the Giants won this game. Kadarius Toney, sorry that I ever doubted that he was the wrong pick. Not for reasons of, well, he's a locker room cancer. I didn't doubt him for those reasons. I doubted him for the reasons of, well, the Giants are not getting him involved. He's a slippery motherfucker. He is a Oh my God. Some of the plays he was making, the one screen pass to the right, the one pass, and then he goes to the left side and shakes a bunch of tackles. Let me tell you something, and this isn't an overreaction, but his ceiling is pretty high. If the Giants keep using him in that fashion, his ceiling is pretty high. Tyreek Hill, I'm not saying he's Tyreek Hill, but at the level of Tyreek Hill, the way he is used, some of these other guys across the league, it's scary. It's just very scary what he could be, against these opponents. And the Saints were a good defense. Don't tell me that, the Saints weren't a good defense. Yeah, they were a good defense. They held Green Bay to 3 points. They intercepted Mac Jones 3 times. So don't tell me, New Orleans, not a good defense. Good defense. Saquon Barkley didn't do a ton in the running game, but he got some first downs. He got that big 54-yard touchdown. He also scored the game-winning touchdown. So I'm not going to sit here and say this team's going to turn a corner or, I hope they do, but I'm not going to sit here and say, well, the Giants are going to win the next 14 games. But let's rethink a little bit. We were talking about last week about this second overall Saquon Barkley thing, right? I was starting to doubt it, but you know what, Saquon? And he even showed in the locker room. There was a video that came out from the Giants. He said before halftime, I knew that we were going to turn this shit around and stuff like that. You guys got to go watch it. But it just shows that he's a leader. He's a leader of this team, and that's great. That's great because we were questioning, oh my God, who's the outspoken leader in the locker room? We didn't know. But Saquon was one of those guys, and obviously it's one win. Can't overreact with that. But we haven't really seen guys like Logan Ryan or James Bradbury go in the locker room and say, hey, we're going to turn this around. I mean, Jabril Peppers, his reaction was very funny, and it was exciting when the Giants got the coin flip results. He's like, yeah, boom, we won that motherfucker. That was funny. I'm like, yes, let's go. And I heard that on TV. Obviously, Fox didn't apologize. That doesn't matter because I don't get offended. I'm not soft. But obviously, we'll talk about him later in terms of a playing standpoint, a snap standpoint. But overall thoughts on this game before we go into the stats and all the other stuff like we usually do. Daniel Jones, I mean, we have been saying for the past couple of weeks, he needs to show us. He beat a over 500 team. Obviously, they're 2-2 right now, so they're not 500. Well, they're at 500. They're not over 500. But he beat a team over 500. We can finally push the narrative away. The Michael K narrative, the Colin Cowherd narrative, the Stephen A. Smith narrative, the Max Kellerman narrative, the casual narrative, this narrative. We can finally throw that in the trash. He beat an over 500 team. It's not like, he beat Matt LaFleur. He beat Sean Payton and the Saints. Payton has been with the Saints for over 15 years now. So I consider that a very important win for the Giants. A very important win for Daniel Jones. So let's go into the stats before I take up the whole podcast with my opening thoughts. Daniel Jones, 28 for 40, 402 yards, a career high. 10.1 per throw, 2 touchdowns and interception. The interception was before halftime on a Hail Mary, so I'm not going to sit here and say, well, he shouldn't have thrown that. No. Jameis Winston, game manager stats, I mean, he played well in my opinion. 17 for 23, 226 yards, 9.8 yards per throw, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Taysom Hill, 2 for 3, 9 yards, 3 yards per throw, and an interception that went to James Bradbury. Not much in the rushing game for the Giants. Saquon Barkley, 13 carries, 52 yards, 4 per pop, 1 touchdown. Daniel Jones, 4 carries, 27 yards. Most of it was escaping the pocket, if not all of it. Because I didn't really see any design runs other than the 2-point conversion, 6.8 per pop. Devontae Booker had 1 rush for 6 yards, 6 yards per pop. Kadarius Toney had 1 rushing yard on 1 carry, and then Evan Ingram on that stupid end-around jet sweep, whatever the hell you want to call it. What that was for -3 yards, so that was his tally on the day. In terms of the New Orleans rushing attack, that was very good for them. One of the things that lifted them, and they just pounded it down our throats. That's something the defense has to fix. 15 missed tackles. That's probably more than Curtis Riley had in 2018. That's a little scary. And the Giants came into this week, or I should say in the last week, or whatever the hell you want to call it, they came into the game 13th in rushing. That number probably just sunk. So Patrick Graham, man, you got to get your act together, because we've been talking the last couple of weeks. The Giants, they need an offensively won game. It can't depend on the defense. Well, this is a game that was won by the offense. You tell me it was won by the defense, I'm gonna ask you to get your head checked. This game was won by the offense, not by the defense, and this is really the first game where the offense won it and the defense didn't do their job. Sure, they made some clutch stops, but they could not stop Kamara on the ground. 26 rushes, 120 yards, 4.6 per pop, no touchdowns. Taysom Hill, you look at the tally, you look at the stats. 6 rushes for 28 yards. That's not bad. It is bad because he scored 2 touchdowns, absolutely trucked Giants defenders, broke about 7 tackles on his second touchdown, so obviously, yeah, that was not good. Tony Jones Jr., who went out with an injury, 3 rushes for 8 yards. Ty Montgomery, 2 rushes for 7 yards. Alex Arma, 1 rush for 2 yards. I think he actually got a first down for them. And Dwayne Washington, who faced the Giants the last time, had 1 rush for 5 yards. So you look at the receiving game, the Giants, very well. Or I should say, very good in the receiving game. I'm using a Sean Carroll term if you guys watch the Boys of Big Apple podcast every Monday. But, man, the receiving game, 4 players with over 70 receiving yards. That's very good. That is excellent. That is the best performance. This is the best offensive performance all season. Well, I mean, you could also say, well, the Washington game, but we didn't win that game. And also, Galladay was only targeted a certain amount of times, and KT wasn't used. And I think I'm going to limit myself to one thing. If I ever make excuses for Daniel Jones from here on out, I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, Daniel Jones doesn't have this guy or that guy. Because now he's shown us that he can utilize the weapons on the field. Kadarius Toney got his first start, and if he didn't start this game, well, I guess I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. John Ross playing his first game. Kenny Golladay playing, exceptionally well. He got a shit ton of targets, a shit ton of yards. Saquon Barkley even getting 5 receptions, 2 screens out of the backfield. So I'm not going to make the excuse from now on, and I don't think Giants fans should, that, oh, well, Daniel Jones doesn't have Shepard. He doesn't have Slayton. Well, you know what? Them 2 receivers might be gone after the year. Sure, Sterling Shepard probably not, but Darius Slayton, it's a possibility because it's either he can't stay on the field or he can't catch a ball. In terms of the receiving game, Kenny Golladay, 6 receptions, 116 yards. Kadarius Toney, 6 receptions, 78 yards. John Ross, 3 receptions, 77 yards. Scored that big 52-yard touchdown. He actually recovered the fumble, which was smart. He wasn't like Deshaun Jackson or any of the players that fumble before the goal line, I'm not going to get it. No. John Ross actually was responsible. 1 touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 5 receptions, 74 yards, and a touchdown, 54-yard touchdown, which was the longest. Evan Ingram, he dropped 1 pass on, I think it was 3rd down or something like that, 3rd down and 2. And that's Evan Ingram for you. I don't think he actually had a big part in this game. I'm not going to give him credit because I actually don't think he did anything. Anyway, he had 5 receptions for 27 yards. Kyle Rudolph had 2 receptions for 24 yards. That big 20-yard pass down the field. And then 1 reception for 6 yards. Devontae Booker. Some of the highlights. I'm actually not going to go through all the Saints receivers unless they have, something to reflect on. But Marquez Callaway had that big 58-yard reception where James Bradbury and Logan Ryan were just beat downfield. 2 receptions, 74 yards. Deontay Harris, 5 receptions, 52 yards. Ty Montgomery, 3 receptions, 42 yards. Taysom Hill, 2 receptions, 26 yards. And then Juwan Johnson catching the only receiving touchdown, only passing touchdown for the Saints, 2 receptions, 20 yards. And then Chris Hogan, Dwayne Washington, and Adam Troutman got on the action. Tony Jones actually had a reception himself as well, but it was a 3-yard loss. Dexter Lawrence making the play. Now look at defense, and this was very disappointing. I'm not going to lie to you guys. The Giants had no sacks, no quarterback hits, and 1 tackle for a loss. And that tackle for a loss is something I just mentioned, the Dexter Lawrence tackle on the screenplay. They could not get to the quarterback. Graham was sending blitzes. For some reason, the personnel can't get there, and this is better personnel than last year. It's something that has to be worked through. Because if we're going to be facing guys like Dak Prescott who roll out of the pocket and just launch it downfield, if we're going to be facing guys like Stafford and all these other guys, we have to get to the quarterback. If we don't get to the quarterback, it's going to be a very long day. I don't want to degrade Jameis Winston because he's had a decent season so far. I think at this point in the league, he's a game manager. But, we're just lucky we faced him and not a top 5, top 10 quarterback. And we're going to be facing that in the next couple of weeks. Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, some of these other guys. But they need to cover downfield better. They need to stop the run better. They need to get to the quarterback better. And if they don't do that stuff, it's going to be on the offense, which is really something that we hope that wasn't going to be the case. We hoped the offense would be good, but we didn't necessarily hope that the defense was going to be this bad. Sorry. But in terms of the New Orleans Saints, they had 6 quarterback hits. They didn't get to the quarterback at all in terms of sacks. Very good job by the offensive line. I don't think I mentioned it all. Andrew Thomas, absolute stonewall. I mean, he is the franchise left tackle. I'm going to say it right now. I could be wrong. He could struggle the next couple of games, but you know what? I've doubted a lot of players. I've doubted Saquon Barkley at times. I've doubted Daniel Jones at times. I've doubted Darius Slayton, all these other guys. I never once doubted Andrew Thomas. I never said that, we might have to draft a tackle. No, I never. And you guys can watch all the podcast episodes from last year. I never doubted Andrew Thomas. I always rooted for him. And look what's happening. He looks like a franchise left tackle. He's doing better in PFF, obviously. Andrew Thomas, worst tackle in the draft class. How do you rate him now, PFF? Because you rated him, and I'm not saying that I like PFF just for Giants grades or Giants positive grades. No, I don't like PFF at all. But I'm just saying that they're contradicting their own past narrative and won't come out and eat the crow because he is the best ranked in terms of PFF grades among that 2020 class. Jedrick Wills and Tristan Wirfs, they rank in the 60s right now. Not in terms of tackles, but like in terms of grades, like 64 point something, whatever. And Mekhi Becton's not even on the field. So you know what? Andrew Thomas haters, Giant fan haters, all this stuff, go out there and eat your crow. And I want to find, Giants fans, I'm encouraging you. And I don't necessarily attack other Giants fans. I don't want to attack other guys or whatever. That's not really my motion. That's not really my motive here. But find somebody who wanted to tank for Chase Young. Find somebody that wanted to lose that Washington game. Find somebody. Because you know what, Chase Young? He's got as many hits on the quarterback as Andrew Thomas has allowed as a left tackle this year. So you know what? And don't give me the crap, oh, well, he doesn't face anybody. Oh, really? Well, he faced Malik Reed, who had 8 sacks for Denver last year. He faced guys like Chase Young and Montez Sweat. You know, Montez Sweat was not all at Nate Solder's side, you know, not all the time. He was on Andrew Thomas's side. And then this week, Cam Jordan, he tossed Cam Jordan. You know, they, I think, were mid-tier in sacks and pressures in terms of the Saints' defense. But they didn't get past Andrew Thomas once, and they didn't get to the quarterback once. Matt Skura did a good job. You know, he had one holding penalty, but he did a good job. Nate Solder did a good job. Billy Price did a good job. Will Hernandez, he did a decent job. So you know what? Rob Sale, man, you're doing wonders with this unit. Colombo, I don't think was able to do that. I don't think Googs was able to do that. Rob Sale, Pat Flaherty, Ben Wilkerson, clap for you guys. The Giants and the Saints had 1 interception each. James Bradbury on that one downfield after the attempted touchdown was taken back by a holding penalty by Adam Troutman. James Bradbury was getting cooked. He was getting cooked all game, and that's not really something you want to see. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Marcus Williams had the interception. That was on the Hail Mary, so I don't take it as much of anything, but he gets his, I think, 2nd interception on the season. So in terms of, we move into like team stats. First downs, each team at 21. Passing first downs, the Giants had 17. They had 12. In terms of rushing first downs, they had 9. The Giants had 4. No first downs from penalties. The Giants were 4 for 11 on 3rd down. They were 8 for 13. And then they were 0 for 1 on 4th down. A good stop by the defense. One of the clutch stops. And I'm not saying the defense was good. It was clutch stops. In terms of total plays, they ran 65. The Giants ran 60. In terms of total yards, the Giants had 80 more total yards, though they did have 1 more possession in overtime, 485 to 405. And the Giants still would have had more, even if they didn't go to overtime. If it was a tie game and they just said no overtime, the Giants would have still had more yards. In terms of total drives, the Giants had 11. The Saints had 10. In terms of yards per play, the Giants had 8.1. The Saints had 6.2. In terms of passing yards, already went over that, 402 to 235, all that other stuff. You go to the red zone, which is very important. The Giants were 1 for 3, so we got to clean that up. Despite the fact the Giants scored 3 touchdowns, 2 of them were not in the red zone. But they got to go in and utilize. They got to go in there and score touchdowns because, yeah, you know, the Saints made mistakes and they let the Giants just mow them downfield in overtime. But what if you don't get that opportunity against the Rams, the Cowboys, and all these other teams? But the Saints did a good job in the red zone. They were 3 for 3. In terms of penalties, the Giants only had 3. So Joe Judge, you know, we were questioning, oh, where's the discipline? Where's the, you know, action on this type of stuff? The Giants cleaned that up for this week at least. 3 penalties for 25 yards. The Saints had 5 penalties for 35 yards, so very clean game in terms of that. And then time of possession, the Giants had the ball for 27 minutes, 35 seconds, and the Saints had the ball for 37 minutes and 31 seconds. Obviously, it's not 60 minutes. It's a little over 60 minutes because of the overtime period. So we move to important plays. Dexter Lawrence, big tackle in the backfield, a 3-yard loss for Tony Jones. After that, the Giants got the ball because they punted. I don't think they went for it on fourth down. And if they did, because I remember there was one of the drives, they did go for it on fourth down. They lost it. It was a 2-yard gain by Kamara on a 4th and 3, and they didn't get it. Lorenzo Carter and Leonard Williams on the tackle. But 2 key plays by the defense of few, because the Giants' defense was not good. First half, we could say they were good. I thought they were good. Other than the touchdown before halftime. But if you look at it from an overall standpoint, they did not do good. In terms of 3rd and 18, this one was one of my favorite plays. And I thought he didn't get the first down. Kadarius Toney on a screen play. First down. That's how you use Kadarius Toney. He had, I think, 77 receiving yards. That's how you use Kadarius Toney. That's how you get him involved. That's how you create these explosive plays. They don't have to be downfield. They don't have to be max protected and you throw the ball downfield. They don't have to be, those type of plays. They don't have to be over the middle plays. They could be screen plays. And that's how you get him and Saquon Barkley involved. Both of them move the football down the field on screen plays. The Giants did that with Saquon Barkley in overtime after a penalty. And I'm like, oh my God, why the Giants, what are the Giants going to do? Illegal substitution. 2nd and 14, great play call by Jason Garrett. Give the ball to Saquon, 17, 18-yard pickup. But move to this, it was an 18-yard pickup. It was a first down. Then Giants move the ball downfield a little bit more. Saquon Barkley has a rush for 8 yards, and obviously this has context. I wasn't necessarily happy with the Giants on this drive. I'm not going to lie to you. 4th and 1, the previous play, which was like a 3rd and 1, I thought they should have just ran it up the middle with Booker, or even Barkley for that matter, but they did a play-action type of play. I think it was max protect as well. They didn't get it, so it was 4th down, and they didn't go for it, and Graham Gano misses the field goal. And you can't count on Graham Gano to make every field goal. You can't do that. And I'm happy the Giants won this game, and I'm sort of happy that Graham Gano missed that field goal because Joe Judge has to think, hey, listen, I got to go for it. My kicker's not always going to be there. He's in his 30s. He's not 20 years old where he's just kicking field goals left and right. He's in his 30s. He's getting older, despite the fact that he's been very good this season. So far, he's been there when the Giants have needed him. With that being said, I also thought that before the play-action play, I thought they should have just ran it up the middle with Booker. I think it was on 2nd down and 2. They should have just ran it up the middle. I thought they tried to get a little too cute with that. But once again, they got lucky. They got lucky because the Saints would actually miss a field goal. But they did utilize Deontay Harris on the first play of the next drive with an 18-yard pass to him. Then later on, they get down the field to the Giants' 40. It's 4th and 3. They don't go for it. They don't punt. They say, you know what? Let's kick the field goal. 58 yards for Aldrick Rosas, and he misses the field goal wide right. The Giants get the ball back. Now, what do they do when they get the ball back? I'm just making sure that it's on point. What do they do when they get the ball back? When it comes back from commercial, Daniel Jones, play action, deep downfield to John Ross. There's that meme on Twitter and Instagram about John Ross. It's like, can I get and John Ross or something like that? You guys know it. I'm less familiar with it. But those are the type of plays that John Ross excels at. Not just slants and comeback routes, but deep down the field. And that was his first game back, to note. So it's not like, we're going to ease him into it. He said, meaning Joe Judge, he said, we ain't got time for easing him back in. Well, at this point, with John Ross and you saying that, everybody needs to be eased back in, or everybody just needs to be back in the playbook. No easing. When Sterling Shepard and Slayton come back and you have your offensive targets, that can't be the case. We got to ease them back in. So I'm expecting Joe Judge, do not ease anyone back in anymore. This ain't sarcasm. This is real. John Ross, he got the playbook shoved down his throat in the game against the Saints. I'm expecting you to do the same thing when Slayton and Sterling Shepard come back. That's what I'm expecting. Now, drive after the Giants' touchdown, the Saints respond. A couple of big plays for them. An 11-yard pass to Deontay Harris, moving the chains. Later on, there was an offensive holding on James Hurst, but they kept moving the ball downfield with these little chunk plays. It wasn't just passing. Alvin Kamara up the middle, first down. Defense had no answer for Alvin Kamara. You could say, oh, it was only 4-point-something yards per carry. No, that's good in the league. That's good. I think it's like 4.6 yards per carry he had. That is good. A lot of teams would take that. And the Giants' defense could not stop them. Danny Shelton was being pushed all over the place. Leonard Williams really wasn't there most of the game. He made like 1 or 2 big tackles, but the Giants' defense had no answer. And it comes into question whether the Giants should trade for a guy, at the deadline, depending on their situation, or whether right now they should sign Jamie Collins because he's not even on the lines anymore. They cut him. So, are teams looking into him? Are there weaknesses? Are there pros? That's for another video. That's for another time. Then a deep pass to Ty Montgomery. Adoree Jackson, it looks like, made the tackle. They get down the field, 2-minute warning. There was a play, I think, actually, Taysom Hill got into the end zone, but there was a flag, an eligible receiver downfield, which was Will Clapp, who was reported in as eligible multiple times. They love using that 6th offensive lineman. But a play later, after a timeout, Juwan Johnson gets a touchdown. Logan Ryan and Jabril Peppers looking at each other like, what are we doing here? That can't happen. And from what I'm determining they didn't necessarily blame it on Ryan. And obviously, once again, I'm just making a presumption here. But with the snap count going down for Peppers, even before his injury, which he injured his hamstring and didn't even play the rest of the half, he was losing snaps to Julian Love, which makes me think the Giants are less confident in him in coverage rather than last year where they were covering Boston Scott with him. They were, having him cover Logan Thomas and all these other guys. But the next drive ended in an interception. Daniel Jones to Marcus Williams. It was on a Hail Mary, so it's not like, oh my God, he threw an interception. No. If I was the stats interpreter, and I'm saying this for ultimately biased reasons, I would not have counted it as an interception. But there was a couple of plays downfield. On the first drive for the Saints, they scored a touchdown on this drive. It was a 3-play drive, so the Giants' defense really had no answer. First play, Jameis Winston throws it up top for Marcus Callaway, a 58-yard pass. James Bradbury, nowhere in sight, nowhere. Then they passed it to Chris Hogan for 9 yards, and then Taysom Hill, 8-yard rushing touchdown. Can't happen. Cannot happen. Those short drives, those long drives, they cannot happen. And obviously, once again, it's common sense known to man that you don't want to give up touchdowns. And both are bad. Both are equally bad. The short drives, giving up just how many yards in one drive is bad. And I know I'm rambling here, but when you give up 75 yards in less than 2 minutes, that's bad. But also when you give up 75 yards in like 5, 6, 7 minutes in a drive like that, that crunches the time of possession, and the Giants are like, holy shit, we don't have time, on the clock. But once again, that was a quick drive for the Saints on that one. A couple of key plays following that drive there. There was a pass to Galladay for 17 yards on the left side of the field, I believe. Then Kyle Rudolph, left side of the field, 20-yard pass play. Fortunately, the Giants did not get in the red zone because of a really bad play call. I'm not going to say, it's execution, this, and the other thing. I just thought 2 play calls were horrible. Most notably, that Ingram jet sweep. If you want to use it for Kadarius Toney. But the fact of the matter is, it's a bad play call. Use it when you have more space. The defense figured out Ingram there. It was a 3-yard loss, then a short pass, an incomplete pass to Kyle Rudolph in the end zone when he's covered by Marshawn Lattimore. The Saints were really they looked at that play and they said, they're going to go for Rudolph. Let's put our best guy on him. Shouts to Dennis Allen and all the defensive personnel they had. But the drive, of course, ends on a 23-yard field goal. For the New York Giants, it's 14-10 at that point. Then I threw my hat to the ground, and I'm not even joking when I say that. About a minute or so after The Giants score the field goal. Jameis Winston up top. Nobody's there. Touchdown, Kenny Stills. I go like this with my Giants hat. And then there's a penalty. Holding. Offense number 82. He held Leonard Williams. He wrestled him to the ground so the Giants get another shot. Now, the Giants ultimately learned from that. Patrick Graham, James Bradbury, they learned from that. They finally get that into their heads. Not the Camaro runs, not this and the other thing. They get that deep pass into their heads. So they back up more. What happens? Goes down the field. He's looking for Deontay Harris. He gets intercepted by James Bradbury. That's the type of ball skills we need to see. Not James Bradbury getting beat 50 yards down the field. Not James Bradbury not tackling. James Bradbury being physical on a receiver. The guy we had last year that was physical, getting interceptions, and making plays on the ball. But I still think that Adoree Jackson is the best cornerback on this team. That's my opinion. So, you go down a little bit later. The Giants absolutely don't do anything with that, which is something they could not clean up last year. James Bradbury had a interception in the Bears game. Giants did nothing with that. I don't think they scored on the Julian Love interception against the Bears. That's where the Giants have to execute. They're gifted with a turnover. And they really haven't had a lot of turnovers. I think it's been 1 per game. I don't think there's been 2 per game. I think it's been 1 per game. They've had 4 turnovers. 2 Bradbury picks. A forced fumble by Ojulari, which they couldn't execute properly because it was 7 seconds left on the clock and the Giants had no timeouts. And then you have the first game where Logan Ryan swats the ball out of Albert Ogbunnunom's hands, and it's a fumble. The Giants could not do anything there. So, if you think of it properly, the Giants could not score on any of those except for one, but that was a field goal. That was the James Bradbury pick, and the Giants milked the clock horribly. And then we know the story in the Washington game. But a couple of dink and dunk plays from there for the Saints towards the end of the third quarter, leaking into the fourth. And the play I am most disappointed and just frustrated about. Taysom Hill breaks about 7 different tackles, goes into the end zone. I'm like, I literally sat there just looking at the TV. I'm like, what's going on? What is this? Tackling, that needs to get better. We looked like we were in the Broncos game. Unfortunate and sad. Unfortunately. But, move on to some drives within the fourth quarter. The Giants had a pass to Kadarius Toney for 21 yards. I think this was the pass where they had it to Toney, and then he was just breaking tackles left and right. Breaking tackles. And that's what he could do. Once again, I mentioned that already. So the following drive, they do stop the Saints on third down. It took about 100 draw plays for Taysom Hill for the Giants to finally stop him. So they stopped him there. They finally figured it out. Then you move later on. First play, boom, downfield, Saquon Barkley. The Giants are suddenly in it with 3 points. And I said on this drive, I was actually about to tweet. I was literally about to tweet. If the Giants don't execute on this drive and they have a 4th and 2 or 4th and 1, watch Joe Judge take the field goal. I was proven wrong on the first play. I was literally about to send tweet. And then, deep downfield for Saquon Barkley, touchdown Giants. I could do a better Kelly Albert impression when I'm not congested because the recording space I'm in is actually pretty moist. The windows are not open, which, is kind of my fault. It's kind of not my fault. But the point is that I was about to send tweet, and the Giants just moved downfield and actually are aggressive in that moment. They go downfield for the touchdown. And the problem is that a lot of Giants fans questioned, including myself. It was like 4th and 9 or something like that. One of the drives before, Giants punt. A lot of people are pissed off. The beat reporters are pissed. And then this play makes that poof go away. So Joe Judge made us pay in terms of our complaints. But the Saints would punt close to the final drive of regulation. They had a couple of decent plays. They did stop the Saints, meaning the Giants, they did stop them at like the 15, 20-yard line. That was good special teams work by Brightwell and Colin Johnson. I must say the return game in terms of the Saints didn't really do much because the Giants on special teams, so I have to credit with them there. And also C.J. Board did field a punt that kind of put the Giants in a comeback situation, so I'll give him credit there. But they had a couple of dink-and-dunk plays. Alvin Kamara, Marquez Callaway for 16 yards. They had a couple of dink-and-dunk plays. But you know what? The Giants ultimately capitalized, and they stopped them on third down. So, Giants, one of the comebacks of the year, 11 points. And the Giants, I don't remember the last time they came back from an 11-point deficit or a 2-score deficit at that. So, Kadarius Toney, 5 yards. Move the chains. First down. Then you have Kadarius Toney again for 11 yards. First down. A couple of plays later, Giants get downfield enough. And I had a little issue, but once again, this was after the Galladay play. Before the Galladay play, I think it was a curl route. He breaks some tackles. Malcolm Jenkins misses some tackles. He bodies them, shoves them out of the way, downfield, 23 yards after the catch. You do not expect that for a freaking curl route. But Kenny Galladay, he was in the moment. He just saw green, started running. He got down to the New Orleans 34. The unfortunate part, and I was pretty disgusted with this, it was 3rd and 10, and they didn't go for a pass. They just draw play, 42 seconds left, draw play with Saquon Barkley. They got the field goal. That's not what I'm disappointed about. That's not what I was disappointed about. I'm like, can we go for the touchdown and not leave any time on the clock for the Saints? But luckily enough, the Saints didn't do anything. They actually just ran one play, had Kamara run another play, and it was overtime. But the Giants, in overtime, I'm going to finally end this, and we'll talk about penalties and other stuff because I know I've been boring you guys for the last couple of minutes. John Ross, 17 yards. They tested Paulson Adebo a lot, and he was getting cooked on some plays, and he was doing well on some plays. 2 plays later, John Ross again, 8 yards, move the chains, first down. Daniel Jones scrambles right, and Joe Judge, I loved his reaction. It was funny as hell. Like, Daniel Jones, after seeing it a couple times, I thought he flopped. He did a LeBron kind of thing. For just going to the ground. Joe Judge took his headset off, rushed out. He pushed the Saints player out of the way and started cursing at the referee. Then Tay Crowder and Kadarius Toney were talking shit with some of the defensive players for the Saints. That was funny. I thought that was funny. I said, yeah, you keep yelling. And in the moment, I'm believing that it's supposed to be a flag, even though later on I said, he flopped. In the moment, I'm screaming at the TV, yeah, Judge, you fight. Bad call by the fucking referees. They fuck up again. And I'm screaming. I'm cursing at the TV. But it was just a funny moment to see. So the next play, they actually get screwed a little bit because I think they had 12 players on the field or something like that. Colin Johnson was the 12th man. He actually caught a pass, but illegal substitution. I thought it was OPI. It was a legal substitution. The next play, fabulous play call by Jason Garrett. 2nd and 14. You dump it off to Saquon Barkley on a screen. He scoots and goes down the field 18 yards to the New Orleans 34. Then, short pass to Saquon Barkley for a yard, and Jones was under pressure. He's looking for Barkley. Barkley fell on the ground. Barkley gets up. He tries to do a little bit much, and then he fumbles. I'm like, no, please, no. And then Kyle Rudolph picks it up. I'm like, thank God. And Saquon Barkley said after the game, he's like, yeah, I owe Kyle Rudolph dinner after that. It just feels so good to win. That's why I'm laughing about a lot of this. It's not nervous or like, oh my God, he's laughing. The team lost and he's just in sadness. No, I'm just genuinely happy this team won. And 2 plays later, Jonathan Vilma starts saying, hey, look for Kadarius Toney on this play. It was a 3rd and 5. And I'm like, oh my God, they just cannot go for the field goal here maybe. I don't know. So we don't even get put in that situation because busted coverage downfield. Jones looks for Galladay along the left sideline, and then Saquon Barkley runs it in for the touchdown. I started screaming. I ran outside. I said, Giants fucking won. I was just so genuinely happy. And all of the New York City teams, or at least most of them, just won. I'll count the Buffalo Bills as a New York team for this moment. The Bills won, the Jets won, the Giants won, the Yankees won. So the penalties, I'll just go over it real quickly. It was an offensive pass interference, I think on the Giants' second drive. It was an 18-yard pass play on Kenny Galladay. It was an offensive pass interference. Then it was before the Giants ran out the clock with the Hail Mary. It was a hold on Matt Skura, and then the illegal substitution I mentioned. So let's go to the snap counts before we go to anything else about stock up, stock down, whatever. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball first. The following players played 100%. The whole offensive line and Andrew Thomas, Nate Solder, Will Hernandez, Matt Skura, and Billy Price, and Daniel Jones as well. 92% of the snaps, 58 snaps for Kenny Galladay, 89% of the snaps for Saquon Barkley, 78% for Kadarius Toney. That is big. I mean, it took the Giants' receiving corps to be decimated to a certain standard for the Giants to put him on the field. 78% of snaps, that's huge. 68% of the snap for loser Evan Ingram, 59% of the snaps for Kyle Rudolph, 44% for John Ross, and he made more of an impact than Rudolph and Ingram did, in my opinion. CJ Board, 30% of the snaps, Caden Smith, 14%, Devontae Booker, 11%, Colin Johnson, 8%, and Elijah Penny, 6%. You look at the defensive side of the ball, there's more takeaways here than there are on the offensive side of the ball, but obviously, once again, we noted Kadarius Toney, 76% of the snaps, Logan Ryan, Xavier McKinney, Tay Crowder, and James Bradbury played 100%. Adoree Jackson, 97%. Would have been 100%, but he was out 2 plays with a knee injury. It looked serious, but he came back on the field. 97% of the snaps. Leonard Williams, 91%. Dexter Lawrence, 79%. Reggie Ragland, 78%. Julian Love, 69%, overtaking most of Jabril Peppers' snaps, him being injured, and the Giants not trusting him in cover situations. Austin Johnson, 59%. Same thing with Lorenzo Carter, 54% for Azeez Ojulari. 32% for Danny Shelton, absolutely unproductive. 28% for Jabril Peppers, 25% for Darius Williams, 21% for O'Shane Ximines, 4% for Darnay Holmes, and 3% for Quincy Roche. No defensive snaps at all for Carter Coughlin, which is very disappointing. Very disappointing. Really disappointed in that because I want to see him as a pass rusher, but Patrick Graham is not really doing that, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because the Giants are not getting the passer, and Carter Coughlin, one of his abilities that makes him versatile, he gets to the passer. Sure, he might not get a sack, but he'll get a quarterback hit at least. He's fast. He has some range. Can he cover all the time? Absolutely not. But once again, as a pass rusher, I think he's better than some of the guys we currently have. O'Shane Ximines is really not getting there. Carter's not getting there. Ojulari had a tough game because he was matched up against Ryan Ramczyk, and Ramczyk is one of the best tackles in the league, if not the best right tackle. But some other takeaways, Darius Williams has jumped Darnay Holmes for the third cornerback spot. And I kind of criticize the Giants for making this judgment call, but Darius Williams, he's looked good. I don't think that defenses are targeting him as much. I think in future games they will, and I think that he's going to adjust, he's going to play better, and he's going to get physical on the ball. So, Darius Williams, shouts to you, man. 6th-round pick, jumping a 4th-round pick from last year, but they have to find a role for Holmes or else it's going to be a wasted 4th-round pick. Jabril Peppers exited after hamstring injuries, but was losing the snap battle to Julian Love. I don't know particularly what they see in Julian Love, but they got to put Jabril Peppers next to Tay Crowder. I'm not saying that Reggie Ragland isn't good in the run game or stuff like that, but man, you got to find something for Jabril Peppers. And if you don't, you just trade him by the deadline and get some picks. Don't give me this compensatory bullcrap. Anyway, shouts to Bobby Skinner for calculating this, but Daniel Jones' stats on the season: 66.7 completion percentage, 1,184 yards, 8.2 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, an interception, 27 carries, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns in the ground game, and 7 yards per carry. He has the ability to be a franchise quarterback, and I'm starting to believe it more and more every game that he is a franchise quarterback. But stock up, stock down. Daniel Jones, Kenny Galladay, offensive line, John Ross, Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, and Dexter Lawrence. I think I pretty much mentioned most of my reasons for saying these guys are stock up. Kenny Galladay, big-time receiver. Offensive line, pass blocking, probably their best, if not their second-best game of the season. And to note, this guy, Matt Skura, just comes in and he does a good job. He does a decent job. I'm not saying he's an all-pro, but they did a decent job with their 4th left guard. Same thing with Andrew Thomas, man. You know, he's dealing with his 4th guy on the right side of him, and he's playing flawless. Flawless. Kadarius Toney, John Ross, more into the offense, and both of them just a lot of great plays. I love seeing this. Saquon Barkley, the 54-yard touchdown, the touchdown at the end of the game, the screen passes, Daniel Jones putting on an absolute show, looking like a franchise quarterback. I think I'm done just like putting it off. I think he is the franchise quarterback. Right now, I think he's a franchise quarterback. Giants, if the season goes awry and Daniel Jones is still showing up and he's still showing you that he could be a franchise quarterback, there is no way you let him go. There is no way you let him go and go into the draft and select these guys like Malik Willis. They are nothing compared to Jones. I'm not saying Jones is the best quarterback in the league or top 10, but come on. Compared to some of the guys in the draft, he's so much better. Anyway, Dexter Lawrence played decent on the defensive side of the ball. Key takeaways, Daniel Jones and the receivers lifted his team over a conservative mindset and a horrible defense, and he finally beat an over 500 team. I said earlier that Jason Garrett's coordinating was better than Joe Judge's head coaching. Not going for it on fourth down twice hurt them. It hurt them. The missed field goal, it later came back to bite them because the game would have been over essentially because the Giants went for a field goal at the end of the game. It would have been 24-21, but I'm not going to complain about that. Despite some horrific play calls, Jason Garrett called a good game without using DJ's running ability. Imagine if he used his running ability. That's 430 yards plus. But then again, those passing plays would have been taken away. So, that would have been a whole different ball game. Anyway, look what happens when Galladay, Ross, and Tony are involved. Yeah, when you use them correctly, when you use them downfield, I'm just waiting for next week or the week after that for Kenny Galladay to get his first Giants touchdown. I'm waiting for that. Same thing with Kadarius Toney, but John Ross we've already seen. The defense made clutch stops, but gave up chunk plays to Taysom Hill, Evan Kamara, Marcus Callaway, and Ty Montgomery. Montgomery had 2 receptions downfield. I think Jabril Peppers had him on both of them. Obviously, the cover ability is not there for Peppers. Marcus Callaway, James Bradbury got absolutely beat on that 54-yard pass. Alvin Kamara was just running it down the throat of the New York Giants defense, and they had no way of stopping him. And then Taysom Hill. It took the Giants defense 100 plays, 100 draw plays for them to figure him out. So Patrick Graham's got to do a better job. And Zeke, we've been talking about him. Oh, he's overrated, this, that, and the other thing. He had a big game against the Panthers on Sunday. He had a big game. Tony Pollard as well. So let's not underestimate anybody. Let's not do that. Joe Judge is still conservative. However, he did not waste timeouts. There were some questionable decisions by Judge. I'll give him credit. They found ways to lose this game, but they found ways to win. And that's a sign that this team could either find more ways to lose or they could find more ways to win and start winning football games like this one. What happens when Slayton and Shepard return? I mentioned this earlier. Joe Judge's comment on John Ross, we ain't got time to ease him back. Don't ease these guys back. Just put them in the game. Unless they are like 70% at health, and I don't know how serious their hamstring injury is. Obviously, it's some sort of serious because they missed the game against the Saints. But, don't ease these guys back if they're healthy. Just throw them in there, create plays, create a game plan, and the Giants might have a top 15, top 10 offense. That's my opinion. But in terms of final thoughts, Giants win. They get their first win. Daniel Jones looks like the franchise quarterback. I think he's the franchise quarterback. Saquon Barkley, he is getting back to speed. If the running game can get a little more creative and a little more productive, I honestly hate that they run him under center when Daniel Jones is under center because I think that takes too long for holes to open up if they could just do shotgun. But you put him out in space with Kadarius Toney. You have those screenplays. That's how he's going to get back to form. He said his knee is getting better and better every game. Use it. Just use it. And the defense, you got to clean up the act. Got to clean up the act because when you face teams like the Rams, when you face teams like the Cowboys and all these other teams, you cannot afford to be having a shootout and then maybe one stupid play call is the end of the game because the defense can't hold you up. So, if you guys haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Going to be live for the Yankees and Red Sox wildcard game, so please join us. Please join us. It's going to be lots of fun. I know a lot of people are doing streams and stuff like that, but You got to grow your channel. I'm growing my channel. Join us. Fun discussion. Fun live stream. Q&A. Stuff like that. Peace out. See you later. Stay cool.